am delighted to be with you all today as we launch the first pilot program in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts for the shared electric scooters. This issue touched me both personally and professionally. In 2012, my roommate was walking back from Children's Hospital, where she was a researcher. She was mugged outside our apartment on Longwood Ave. Shortly after that experience, she bought a Razor scooter to get to work because she no longer felt safe walking alone. As a transportation professional by day, I realized that if we are to make a dent in the carbon emissions reductions, we need to change transportation behavior away from the single occupancy vehicle. I believe these types of mobility devices will help to get some people out of the car and into a bike lane. I'm excited to launch this pilot to see if users will use them respectfully, if the companies will be as responsive as they claim, and to see if they do indeed get people to use a greener option of transportation. I can answer any questions when it is time to do so. Thank you.
Great. Thank you everyone so much for being here today. My name is Hannah Smith. I'm a government relations manager for BIRD in the Northeast, and I have been working with the town of Brookline for the last 8 months to bring scooters here. BIRD started the e-scooter movement with one mission in mind: to help cities reduce their traffic congestion and reduce their carbon emissions. I want to thank the leaders of Brookline who decided to partner with us in this important effort. We believe that this will be incredibly successful in helping Brookline residents trade shorter car trips for our emissions-free option, and we plan to work hard to make sure that the pilot is a success. Today, Brookline stands up as a leader in transportation innovation, as the first to bring e-scooters to Massachusetts. The rest of the state is watching, and I'm so proud of all of the work that we've done together to make today possible. To the people of Brookline, we welcome you to try us out, to trade your car ride in, and to give those scooters a try. Thank you so much.
I want to echo that the sentiment of thank you, Brookline, for doing this. I have the history. 7 years ago, we were here launching.
Who are you?
Oh, thank you. My name is Scott Mullen. I'm the Director of Expansion for Lime here in the Northeast, and the team that we're building is partly made up of the team that helped bring Hubway, which is now Blue Bikes, to Brookline. So this shows a pattern of sort of innovation and willingness to take chances, which is really what this is all about. Brookline getting out ahead of this. It's important from a traffic standpoint, of course. It's important congestion mitigation, public health. It really is a climate issue as well. And beyond the leadership and staff of Brookline, the residents really came out with the Climate Action Brookline community really getting behind these things. One small step at a time. The individual choices that we make matter. And this is really about bringing more options, mobility options, to the region. So we're thrilled to be participating in this pilot and look forward to answering any questions you may have. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Neil Wyszynski. I'm the chair of the Select Board, and I'd like to thank Heather for leading the charge for the Select Board and the folks from BIRD and Lime. And I'll end this with kind of a plea to the users. In order for this pilot to be a success, folks who use the scooters are going to have to abide by the rules of the road, don't crash through red lights, and be very careful and cognizant of where you park the scooters. It's important that I hope this will be a success, and we need everyone's cooperation for it to be a success. It's been a success in other communities around the country and around the world, and I don't see why it can't be a success here. So I'm glad Brookline can be a leader with scooters and with bikes, and I'm looking forward to having this be a success. Okay.
I can take any questions.
Can we talk about safety? Obviously someone has fallen right behind us. The firefighter and EMS are here.
Can you talk about safety concerns with this? Just address the.
There's always a learning curve as people learn to ride bikes and now scooters. So that's why I'm wearing a helmet. We need to learn to share the road. We actually lost a children's librarian last month in Fenway. Even when you take every precaution, people don't see you. I would just urge everyone to go slow. If you have not ridden on a scooter like this, practice before you just take it out on the road. That's why we started in a parking lot. So be mindful of where you are and just try to be responsible.
Are helmets required or optional?
I believe they're required for the shared. Are they not?
So companies. Hi everyone. Companies require that our users have access to helmets, use them as much as they can. Bird gives away helmets to anybody requesting them. All you have to do is pay for shipping for the app. But we do abide by helmet laws in Massachusetts. Thank you.
I had a friend ride a Bird from Brookline to Boston, and he was unable to park it in Boston. It said it was not in the area, so he had to take it back to Brookline. How does that work? Because people are going to be riding them into the city, or can they?
They are supposed to be able to ride it into other jurisdictions. You just can't initiate a new trip.
Okay, so that error he received that said you can't park it, that's...
I think that's a first day glitch.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a glitch. All right.
Yeah, but we worked with our neighboring towns and cities to let them know that we were starting this pilot today. In our pilot agreement, we said that the companies have 2 hours to retrieve the scooters when they cross into a jurisdiction where they don't have permission to operate yet.
So you will be able to ride it into Boston and leave it there if you chose to do so?
Yes.
How many scooters are you starting with for the pilot program?
Each company is permitted up to 100 to start, and then based on the user or the utilization statistics, we'll start to talk about ramping up or ramping down based on whether or not they're meeting the number of rides that we anticipate.
And can you give me a brief rundown of the process of how do you obtain the scooter, how do you secure it on your phone, what's the procedure?
So it all starts with downloading an app, as so many things today start with. You start with an app, you say where you are, you say you want a scooter. Once you start to reserve the scooter, you'll be prompted with a series of tutorials on, to encourage you to use a helmet, to abide by traffic laws, and then you can search for scooters in your area, you can reserve a scooter, and then it will unlock when you approach, and then you can take it out.
And what's the range on it? How does it stay charged, or how do you recharge it?
Sure. Yeah.
No, great question. So the range is typically about 28 to 30 miles on ours. These things are charged every day. Typical trip is about a mile though, so this is really short, punchy connections to transit. Little trips that happen around town. What was the other part?
That was it. The range on it, and how was it charged? I didn't know if the user had to charge it, or
we charge them overnight.
Retrieves it and then charges
Correct.
it.
Correct. And you just walk up to it. It's smartphone enabled. If you don't see one, your smartphone will tell you where the closest one is. Maybe it's around behind the building, something like that. Walk up to it, scan it, it unlocks. Park it responsibly when you're done. Snap a photo of it to prove that you parked it responsibly, and then simply walk away. So these are dockless. Unlike the dock-based system, where you pick it up at a station and bring it back to another station, these are dockless, so they're very flexible. People talk about the first last mile in transportation. This is first last 10 feet. It really is that much more convenient. Any other questions?
The impact of these on climate change and environmental issues.
Do you want? I can speak for Lime briefly. We had 28 million trips in 2018 alone on our fleet of dockless vehicles. We're operating bikes, e-bikes, and e-scooters around the world. That translating to about 3,000 tons of carbon offset. And we're just getting started. That's one company, and that was one single year. So let's see where we go from here. This is going to be a big part of it.
When we were doing research for our pilot, I was really intrigued with Portland, Oregon's pilot program. They also did a user survey, and in that survey, people were asked, how would you have gotten to where you were going if the scooter had not been available? And about 34% of respondents said that they would have used a car. Now, that included ride share, but still, that's a combustion engine that we're trying to get people to move away from. So 35% is a very significant number. And in an urban context like we have in Brookline and our surrounding communities, a lot of trips are 2 miles in that range, and these are ideal for that kind of trip.
Did anybody speak to just why Brookline was chosen for the pilot as opposed to any other communities?
Brookline chose us.
Oh, okay. So,
A couple of things. I mean, I think I was personally motivated just because of my roommate's experience. So I had a natural affinity for scooter devices. I also moved to Brookline not having a car. So I was open to the idea of shared electric scooters. The other thing is that we are a town with a town governance structure, and that means that we can move a little more nimbly on certain issues. This is one of those issues.